Hi there, Marty Van Diest with Valley Market Real Estate here in Palmer, Alaska. And I'm going to talk about land use regulations here in the borough. Now, I'm right on the edge of the borough. This is the borough. This is Palmer. If you're in Palmer, you have your own land use regulations. Check those out, but that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the borough. Borough land use regulations. And the Mat-Su Borough is huge, the size of West Virginia. And it does have regulations. A lot of what I'm going to talk about has to do with setbacks and how many feet your house should be from the side lot line. And this is not something to use when you're trying to figure that out, because you're going to have to know what to measure from. Sometimes you'll go out there and you'll see, hey, there's a stake with some red ribbon on it. That must be my lot line. I'll measure from right there, and that will get me there. Or you might be on a road like this one here. Somebody coming. You might be on a road like this one here, and you think, well, I'll just measure from the center of the road, the center line of the road, out to the edge of my lot line, and that tells me right where it is, because the center of the road must be right in the center of the right-of-way. Right? Wrong. So many people get messed up with that, and that's a real tricky thing that will get you. So I'm going to talk about that. There's other regulations too besides setbacks. We're going to talk about a lot of those, but don't depend on only what I say, because it goes a lot deeper than that. I'll show you some where you can get those regulations. You need to know before you build anything. You need to have a driveway permit. You need to be a certain distance from any section line easements. Those will get a lot of people. And I could tell you horror stories, one right after another. And I'll do it too. All right, let's talk later. I'm going to give you an idea where you can find the borough's land use regulations for yourself if you want to. So check this out. This is where you go. You go to the borough's website. Okay, here's the borough code. Here we go to Title 17. And here's the setbacks and land setbacks, water body setbacks, and that sort of thing. Okay, I'll tell you where you go to find the info on the borough setbacks. Go to Mat-Su.gov right here, matsu.gov. And then you just scroll down, or you go right up here to government. And then when you get to government, scroll down a little bit and see borough code right there. Then go over here and click on borough code. And here you are. There's all the code for the borough. Go to Title 17 and look at that. People say the borough doesn't have any zoning. And compared to Anchorage, I suppose, it doesn't. But check that out. Probably ought to have some idea what that's talking about there. We're going to look today at these things, setbacks, especially setbacks from the lot lines for different things and setbacks from shorelands. And I'm not going to read through all this. I'm just going to talk about it, but I just wanted to show you where it is. So that's where you go, matsu.gov, and go from there. A little bit of information about the borough's website. You can get on here. This is my property. You go to matsu.gov.us and you click on my property. And once you're on there, you can choose a property and then just go on this interactive map here. Once you're on the interactive map, you can see a lot of good information. So here's the map. You see this yellow line, yellow black line. That's the boundary between the city of Palmer and the borough is on this side. And this is my office. I'm on the borough side. Go over here to layers. You click on layers and you can get a lot of things on layers. And you can turn them off and on over here. For example, let's just click on that. What happens? See that? Bye. Click on imagery and you can get an aerial view of things. So if you parked a junk car in your backyard last year in 2025, it's probably in this picture. Check this out. You can see the road. You can see the property lines. Look at these pink lines. Those are interesting. There's one there. It says a 20-foot utility easement. It's labeled on here. This is a 20-foot MEA easement. The MEA easement goes way back here. These are the property lines. And these are not exact, okay? This is actually shifted back a little bit. That line is actually just a little farther back there. And it's a little farther back this way. Notice how close I am to the property, to the front property line. But I'm legal because the borough put that road in after the house was built. So a lot of times you'll see this kind of stuff and you'll say, hey, you know, that thing's too close. But you'll find out it's different. You can go over here and you can measure things. Don't count on this being exact, but it gives you a rough idea. You can hit measure, you can click distance and measure settings, and we'll use feet. You can use feet, yards, miles, nautical miles, whatever. And you can go over here and say, well, how close are you to the property line? Way too close. Check this out. Go distance, right there, go to here, and I'm only 18 feet. I'm only 18 feet from that right away. I'm supposed to be 25 feet, but since the borough put this in after the house was built, we're legal. Go back here, you can see some other stuff that's important. All these easements, 10-foot easement, 10-foot easement, 20-foot easement. Keep on cruising back. Uh-oh, look at that. That's a right-of-way easement. These 30-foot right-of-way, ROW, you need to be 25 feet back from that, 25 feet on both sides. So 25 feet over here and 25 feet over here. And if you're thinking about building, you better know where that 25 feet is. You see this power line running through here. And how are you going to know? You can measure here, but don't count on it. You want a survey. You want a survey. Just want to show you a few more things over here. Let's zoom out. Zoom way out. Way out. All right. Check this out. Here is Wasilla Creek. What if you built real close to Wasilla Creek? You see that pink stuff? That pink stuff? That's a flood zone. You don't want to build in a flood zone. And you don't want to build too close to the creek either, because you're supposed to be 75 feet back from the creek. Now, I was just corrected on this, and I could be wrong. I'm going to find out. If a water body setback is from a creek or only a lake. There's a lake over here, a creek here. Let's zoom in and look at this creek. Can't really see it very well, but I think it's in that, somewhere in that flood zone. Zoom way in. There it is. Okay, so there is the creek. You can see it right there. And you can measure, how close can I be to that creek? You go over here, you hit this measuring tool, hit the distance marker, say I want to be 75 feet back. That would be about right there. So I could build a cabin about right there. No closer, or you'll be too close to the creek. You also want to stay out of this pink area, because once you're in here, you do have to have a permit to build in there, and it's a pretty strict permit. They're going to be pretty hard on you if you're going to build in the flood zone. All right, so we're going to look at some more stuff. I showed you at the very beginning a measuring tape and said don't use a measuring tape to figure out your setbacks. You cannot do that. You need to have a professional. Don't even go out there and find your rebar. You see that right there? That's a 1/2-inch rebar. These corners are marked with rebar. Have a surveyor show you that rebar, it really is the corner of your property. You need to know right where the right-of-way is. You see that? This is the right-of-way, and this is the front of the lot. This particular house is, 52 feet from the front of the lot, and the front of the lot is a right-of-way, so it needed to be at least 25 feet back, and it's 52 feet, so that's good. You need to know how far your property is from the side lot line. You need to know how far it is from the back lot line. In this case, you don't know exactly, but you have a pretty good idea because you can see that this lot is 193 feet deep, and your house is 52 feet back, and it's not, what is that, 16 plus 22, so that's what, 38 feet or so. So we got lots of room to spare back here. You don't have to worry about it. You see a driveway that's in here. This one has two driveways. Another important thing to know is how far is the well. In most as-built surveys, we'll actually have a circle around the well, a 100-foot circle. The well needs to be 100 feet away from your septic system right here. So this one is plenty far. In fact, this particular surveyor doesn't put that circle there, but he makes some notes in the bottom what the distance is, and if there's anything to worry about there, then he'll tell you. So this is what you need. Before you do anything, get a survey. If you haven't built a house yet, that's okay. Get a survey. You need to know where your side lot lines are exactly. You need to know where your front lot line is exactly. You have no idea where the road is in its right of way. Sometimes the road isn't even in its right of way. Don't count on the road to be right. Get a survey. Once your survey is done, then you find out you need to stay 25 feet back from the front, 10 feet back from the side lot lines, 10 feet back from the back. And now that's the borough's regs. Many subdivisions have different setbacks. Sometimes you'll need to be 20 feet back from here or 50 feet back from here. Find out what is going on before you build anything. I can tell you horror story after horror story. You just heard about the widow who lost her house because the builder built it too close to the lot line. I can tell you another one where we had a new construction going on. It was a big house, but it's a real narrow lot. And I talked to the builder and I talked to the excavator and I said, hey, you guys, this house is barely going to fit on this lot. We better know where the side lot lines are. They said, oh, no problem. We'll make sure it's good. Well, they didn't. We finished the whole house. Then they got an as-built survey done like this and found out it was too close. In fact, that builder ended up having to buy a piece of the neighbor's lot. It took 6 months to close. In the meantime, the new buyers were living in the house free. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen. I can go over a little bit more here. I'll tell you some other stories, but let's take a look at a couple other kind of nightmare scenarios. These are the things you don't want to do. Okay, I want to talk about a couple things here. Here's Lynx Lake, gives you an idea where we're at. And by the way, I'm also on the Mat-Su Fish and Wildlife Commission, and I learned something this past meeting from somebody who came in that lives on one of these lakes, not this one, but one of these lakes out here, about pike fishing. These lakes got a lot of pike in them. Most of them do, if they're connected at all to the creek. And here's a creek that runs in. I'm sure there's pike in this lake. If you want to catch a lot of pike, do it in the spring, right after the ice goes out. That's what he said. And I'm going to try it out. So I think we should have a big borough-wide pike derby this spring, or maybe next spring sometime, and get rid of a lot of these pike. These pike are eating our salmon. But yeah, I'm getting off the subject. Sorry. Take a look at this. There's a couple things to show here. One of them that's important is to notice that these lot lines that the borough has here, you can't count on them to be accurate. That's just another reason why you should get a survey. I mean, obviously, this isn't accurate. It's out in the water. It should be along the shoreline here. So it's just something to pay attention to, that these lot lines are not accurate. And you don't count on them. Don't go by the lot line to figure out where you're at. But also notice there are a lot of people who are too close to the water bodies. I mean, I talked to somebody at the borough, and they gave me a number in the 200s. I think that's super low. I think it's ridiculously low, really, because there's a lot of people. This is way too close. There's a lot of people like that that are way too close. I don't know how close this one is. Looks like it probably is too close. Almost. Well, I don't know. I don't want to sit and measure these places, but you can. You can get a pretty good idea by using this measuring tool. Look at this one here. Is that actually a house? Yep. And so some of these are grandfathered in if they were built before a certain time. And a lot of these places on these lakes were built a long time ago. And so they might be grandfathered in. It's hard to know. Also notice how on this side, this line is over the lakefront, and on here it's back. So the whole thing shifted. I'm sure that somehow, with using AI, they'll figure out how to fix that down the road. But so far it needs to be. So I'm just showing you that if you go out to buy a property on a lake, you're going to buy a little cabin, pay attention to how far back it is from the lake. It needs to be at least 75 feet back. If it's not 75 feet back, you're going to have problems down the road sometime. There will be eventually a time when you have problems. So just make sure you measure that, and you're going to have to, don't use your tape, get a surveyor to say, this is how far it is back. And I've sold houses that were very close, but we were happy. We had a surveyor that actually measured it, said, okay, this is 76 feet from the property line. Important to know. All right, I'm going to talk about one more thing. Let's get off this subject and we'll get on to driveway easement, not driveway easements. We can talk about that another time. I'm going to try to do this every week, and easements are another subject that we'll get on. But let's talk about driveway permits. Okay, let's take a look at driveway permits. If you access I'm going to talk about why we need driveway permits. Here's a classic one right here. This is a borough road, Angel Road. So this person actually has two driveways. And in both cases, his driveway comes out. This is his property all the way to the line. However, he's using the borough's property to get all the way out to the borough road. No big deal. How are you going to get there, right? You have to get there, but you are encroaching on borough property. In order to encroach on borough property, you're supposed to have a permit. Now, most of us, including me, for years, just ignored that little point. We didn't get a permit. We just put our driveway out there onto the borough road. But now the borough is requiring that, and they're actually going back and trying to get everybody who doesn't have one. And I called the borough, and the guess is probably at least 20 to 30,000 people in the borough do not have a driveway permit and should have one. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe down the road they're going to start fining those of us who are in violation. I'm not sure. Here's where you don't need a driveway permit, at least from the borough. You need one from the state, because this out here is a state road. I don't know about this. I'm pretty sure this is a state road too. But the Parks Highway is a state road. And you need a permit from the Department of Transportation, the state, to access their road. You notice these lines here. I'm not sure what this is, but it's an easement line. I guess this is the right-of-way right here. So if that's the right-of-way, but there's a right-of-way for the frontage road too. So it's just hard to know where these things are here. If you're going to be building close to any right-of-way, you need to pay attention. Oh, and let me show you one more thing. This is something that bites people all the time. It's one of our horror stories. You see these pink lines right here? These pink lines are section lines, and most section lines have an easement. Not all of them. They don't all have easements, but most of them do. And if they have an easement, that easement is a right-of-way. And remember, there it is. It's showing up there, see? And even this, you can't count on this being true. Get a surveyor, because a surveyor might find out this easement isn't actually here. But a lot of people, what they'll do, and we run into this a lot, and here's a case right here. See that one? I would say they're way too close to that easement. Maybe they built this before that ordinance came into effect. Let's hope so. This one over here looks too close as well. This is probably, I guess it's a 33-foot section line easement, so that's obviously less than 25 feet right there. And this one is too. Sometimes they'll actually be in the section line easement. This one's too close as well. Section lines will bite you. They will really bite you. Here's another one. So this happens a lot where people are too close to a section line easement. Now I'm pointing it out here on this map. What I want to say is, Even though this says it's a section line easement, it may not be. It may not be. The only person that can tell you that for sure is a surveyor. Get a survey. All right, we're going to talk about more stuff next week. Okay, well, I hope I didn't bore you to death, but feel free to call if you have questions or get a hold of somebody at Valley Market Real Estate. We'll be happy to help you out. And we'll see you again next week.